Hello, Florida Baptist. We are grateful for another year of celebrating God's faithfulness and the generosity of Florida Baptist. You know, at Florida Baptist Financial Services, we are pursuing maximizing kingdom resources by following God's plan. We continue to see growth and dramatic impact in our Florida One Fund and our Retired Shepherds Fund. We're seeing growth in loan demand among Florida Baptist churches, so it's a great season. You know, sometimes impact can be best told by a story, and this story goes on for decades. Take a look at how one life was used by God to impact so many.
My name is Neil Hampton. We live here in Callahan.
You live in Hilliard, you don't live in Callahan.
We live in Hilliard, Florida.
Hilliard.
Hilliard, as some people call it. We had a son, his name was Neil Hampton Jr. We called him Little Neil. He's a pretty good boy. He even talked about being a preacher. He'd get up on our mantle, 13 years old, he'd get up there and preach, to us. I kind of felt like he'd be a preacher one day.
We got the call about 7:30, 8 o'clock that he'd been in an accident, and almost by the time we got there, the hospital was full of his friends and our family. And I mean, as the time went on, they knew, they did all kinds of tests and everything, but they said he was brain dead.
The family was devastated, as you can imagine. I mean, I can't imagine trying to deal with something like that. But even from the very beginning, they knew that God was going to keep them close and get them through this, but also knew that there was going to be purpose behind this tragedy in the long run. And I remember Mr. Neil asking me those questions about, what can we do? Is there something we can do through the church? First things I thought about is that, you can get a scholarship for just about everything out there, but there's not too many ministry scholarships out there. We contacted the Florida Baptist Financial Services, and that's where Mike Morgan came in.
We cried together, we laughed together, we talked about their desire and what we felt was God's desire to impact His kingdom for the lives of students who want to pursue theological education.
That first year, we gave away $5,000, and I thought, well, that's as big as this is ever going to be. That was the lowest year. That very beginning. And it was a God thing that God was going to bless. He was going to use this family and this church to do His work. Years later, that's what's transpired.
100 years from now, they'll just say, well, who is that? Who is that Neil Hampton? The scholarship. Where did we get a scholarship from Neil Hampton? And somebody say, well, there's some little old redneck church out there in Hilliard, Florida, in the middle of the woods, 10 miles from any town. And they started a scholarship.
The Neil Hampton Scholarship Fund is just one way in which the Lord is prompting His people to be good stewards and to be generous. We'd love to come alongside you and talk about how we can help you make stewardship simplified.